what you see happening in Venezuela has all of the trimmings and all of the fixins, all the ingredients and then some for how you see a new world war start. Now, many historians and analysts are saying if you're not paying attention to the world-ending storm of Third World War that's gathering in Venezuela, you're crazy. But I agree with the CIA when they call the Cold War World War III. This is World War IV. It's giant migrant waves, it's economic war, it's authoritarianism, and then it's gathering armies, cyber war, and then physical war. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, on this live Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019 global transmission. Mike Adams is going to be hosting the fourth hour, and we're going to have open phones like we did yesterday, but I intend to go to your calls a lot earlier. I'm sorry I didn't get to a lot of you guys at the end of the hour, but I had an emergency that I had to take care of that came up, so I went to rebroadcast for 15 minutes before Paul Joseph Watson took over live. So those folks that were unable to get on air, you'll be first in line today if you let the folks answering the phones know that. But the big theme I want to discuss today, and I'd like the callers to call in about, and at least give me your view on, then you can segue into a second point if you'd like, but please humor me, is the fact that what you see happening in Venezuela has all of the trimmings and all of the fixins, all the ingredients and then some for how you see a new world war start. Now, many historians and analysts are saying if you're not paying attention to the world-ending storm of Third World War that's gathering in Venezuela, you're crazy. But I agree with the CIA when they call the Cold War World War III. This is World War IV. It's giant migrant waves, it's economic war, it's authoritarianism, and then it's gathering armies, cyber war, and then physical war. Venezuela has, for now several years, around 1,000 people a day die of starvation. The government passed a law a few years ago making it illegal to call it that. The average Venezuelan in the last year has lost 27 pounds. You're not seeing any fat people there anymore. And Brazil and Colombia have put up fences and troops because everyone's fleeing. And when you get, it was 5 million the last year. Now they say it's 5 million this month. So it's total collapse. Power's been off, gas is out, electricity's down most of the time, starvation, murder, death. And now they're breaking over the borders, and there are Russian and Chinese troops there that are reportedly involved. And so this is the real unraveling of a country. Now, Russia and China are there because it's a strategic doorstep to the U.S. in northern South America. They also have more oil than any other country per capita per square mile, even more than Saudi Arabia. Probably have 5 times the oil Texas has. And so it's quite the plum. And things are degenerating very, very quickly. Now, why is that so important? Because if you look at a map of northern South America, and then you see the little isthmus there of Panama up into southern North America, Mexico, it's not very far from Venezuela up into Mexico and the United States. And so the other countries, Brazil, Colombia, others are not letting the illegal aliens stop or stay there. They deport them. They ship them out immediately because if people hear there's safe harbor in Costa Rica, it'll go from being a really nice place to a hellhole. And already Guatemala is a hellhole. So people are moving north from one hellhole to another to get to El Norte. So this is all unfolding right now. And you have the UN setting up the refugee centers through the few countries in northern South America into Central America so that the giant throngs, now in the hundreds of thousands per month, can leapfrog their way through Colombia as Venezuela tries to completely break the Colombian border, which is happening now, into Panama, into Costa Rica, into Nicaragua, into Honduras, into Guatemala, and then into Mexico. That is a publicly planned, UN-funded, Obama-funded, State Department Soros-financed operation, 1 trillion%. And that is how they intend to take down America. Now, you're looking at footage for your TV viewer from back in October, November, December. Now the caravans are double that size. Last Friday, the Border Patrol issued a total red alert, SOS, and said the border is broken. Previous records were 3,000 a day they were stopping in places like El Paso. Now it is 15,000 a day, and Beto is saying there is no border. Come on up. Everything's free. You deserve it. They're encouraging lowering the drawbridge. Meanwhile, I've got stacks of articles of Democratic Party leaders saying, George Ramos and others, there is no border. You can't stop it. It's gone. Now, remember, if this is successful, when we're in a depression in 6 months, a year or two, depending on the timetable, and you're living in hell, and there's burning cities and riots, you just remember who did it. This is such an incredible time to be alive. Nobody likes illegal immigration. Oh, yeah, right, nobody. So let's do something about it. Let's legalize the first 10.7 million undocumented immigrants that are already here. Second, yeah, that thing is legalize it all. A legal and realistic immigration system that works. This won't be solved with a useless wall. And then he's got other quotes saying you can't stop it. So this is where our country is right now. This is what we've become. This is what it's turned into. George Ramos, amnesty for illegals, migrants. Nothing we can do to stop them. Get rid of it. Get rid of the walls. Just open up everything. Hey, dude, it's so great down there, Mr. Ramos. You're so busy pissing on America and bitching and complaining every 10 seconds. Why don't you just hoppity-scotch on down to Venezuela? Because Brazil to the south of Venezuela and Colombia to the west are prosperous compared to Venezuela, and they have put up giant fences and armed troops, and they're now forcefully shipping people back in, and now the Venezuelan troops are showing up and saying, no, you're not. You're going to take these people. And if you're a radio listener, you can go to Infowars.com or Newswars.com or PrisonPlanet.com to see the videos, to see the photos the establishment doesn't want you to see. But when we come back, shock video, big article up on Infowars.com. Migrants drag screaming children underwater through concertina wire to enter the U.S. illegally. You know, I see articles all the time where somebody takes their 10-year-old son or daughter out to Big Bend or something on too far of a hike, and they get stuck out there, and they get dehydrated, and they have to get hauled out by a helicopter. And who's waiting? CPS. Because you shouldn't have taken your kid 10 miles out in the desert. Oh, but when it's 150 through barbed wire, oh, my little cupcakey, you're so good. And a lot of these, turns out, are people smuggling kids on top of it, like homeless people will use a dog to get more funds or to get more donations. You ever seen that? For sympathy, a lot of these kids, it turns out, are smuggled and kidnapped. But don't even check them. Oh, that'd be too rude. Don't even find out if this is your daddy or mommy. It's all coming up. Now, please remember, we've got to end the special by Thursday or Friday, and I'm going to come up with some new specials, but we're selling out of many of our best-selling items that help fund this operation. We're close to selling out of the fish oil, the krill oil, and the children's brain oil that's so awesome. It's got a whole bunch of the best oils for children, but smaller gel caplets of Honor Roll. That's close to selling out. It's still massively discounted despite that, and store-wide free shipping, okay, even though it's close to selling out. We also have other things that are close to selling out, like Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula, 95% curcuminoid. If you don't know what turmeric does for you, just go research it. This is the best out there. We also have all Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste, fortified with colloidal silver iodine, 55% off and free shipping. We have also DNA Force Plus, 60% off, unprecedented. Knockout, the sleep aid, 60% off. Silver Bullet, 60% off. Brain Force Plus, 60% off. Real Red Pill Plus, 60% off. Bodies, as I said, 60% off. and so much more. But that's all got to end. Double Patriot points. 10% off on your next order for every dollar you spend. Store-wide free shipping right now. Sign up for AutoShip for things like protein bars or things like coffee or things like fish oil that you're going to want to reorder. And then you get that additional 10% off on the next order as well. It's free shipping, too. There's a whole bunch of deals.
I'm watching the midterms. Man, you would think our country is Mad Max Thunderdome. This guy is like, they're coming from Guatemala, they're coming from Mexico. There's a liberal mob that's coming.
Hey, you voted Trump! You voted Trump! Oh,
Supporting the president. You ain't supporting
Muslims. And you would think everybody in the country is just like, to the bunker.
You're watching on television, you're seeing small children bleeding, being drugged through barbed wire and concertina wire underwater, and many times by smugglers who use them as human shields. That's on record. Even the Washington Post admits that, Senate reports. And then once they're here, bingo, the asylum system's been overwhelmed, the courts have been overwhelmed, the emergency center's been overwhelmed, Democratic Party vehicles are waiting, many of them hardcore pedophile groups, and the families and children and unaccompanied children disappear. They're then taken to Democratic Party members' homes who then don't work but go file for them to get Social Security, file for them to get Medicare, Medicaid, to get all the different food stamps. And then on average, each Democrat family has 3 people living with them, and then they collect up to $15,000 per month of taxpayer money. They are then given how to vote in the names of dead people, and they rule. Texas is being conquered as we speak. They say we'll be blue by the next election, probably, if not after that one. And the average conservative just drives around a big truck going, I'm tough, yeah, boy, doing absolutely nothing. And then they're going to socialize, and the country will collapse. And that's just how it works. And there'll be nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from the giant third world collapse now taking place. All orchestrated by the globalists. Yes, their system's rejected. Yes, it's in trouble, but we're not arresting the leaders of globalism. We're not cutting the UN funding that's funding the refugee centers that stage the groups to come in. Trump has cut the funding to the Central American countries that are aiding and abetting this. Brazil and Colombia have put their militaries on alert. They've got big fences up. They're trying to block the people coming into their country. And Russian and Chinese troops are massing inside Venezuela in case the United States tries to stop this operation. And so here's the thing. I don't want troops on the border with Russia, and I don't want provocations. But what if the U.S. was staging a third world collapse, let's say out of the Middle East, and opened up a conduit up into Georgia and was shipping in 10 million illegal aliens, Muslims, and had domestic groups within Russia saying, you've got to let them in, you got to let them in. Russia would have a reason to go to war with us. Now, Russia's not been behind orchestrating all this, but they're jumping on the bandwagon and aiding and abetting it. China has been orchestrating it through our media and our systems. They're both there like the Five Armies War, wanting to get Smog's treasure. Almost as much oil as you've got in Saudi Arabia there in Venezuela. And so that's why you've got all these buzzards circling. But this is taking us to the edge of war. The videos are dramatic. The photos are shocking. Some of them we can't even air because we're on broadcast television. But Venezuela battle war is on. And even the New York Times admits it is hell on earth, mass death, carnage. Burn offerings. Venezuelan officials blocked the border with Colombia in a bid to keep out humanitarian supplies. Remember all that? Well, now it's spilling over into Colombia itself as they try to flee. And there have been huge, giant events today as all of this unfolds. And the Democrats in this country, the leader of the Democratic Party, George Ramos, he says, just get used to it. There's nothing you can do. It will happen. This is the way it is now. Nothing you can do to stop it is the exact quote. So from all corners of South America, all three socialist countries that are in South America are collapsing. The others are stabilizing. They're all overwhelming like lifeboats, the countries around them, and then flooding via UN leapfrog refugee centers towards us. Again, the hundreds of thousands of the different caravans that slammed into us last year are nothing compared to what is now already slamming in. The caravans are hitting daily, 15,000 a day per overwhelmed border sector in the three most overwhelmed sectors. That's 45,000 people a day in just three of the most active sectors that they're catching. We are hemorrhaging out right now, and the Democrats are, there's nothing you can do. It's all over. And Beto is, there is no border crisis. There's nothing you can do. Come on up, let's do it together. And it's criminals, and it's poor people, and it's people with diseases, and who the hell knows they are? Who the hell knows who they are? But it doesn't matter. Because the Democrats are going to suck them as a permanent underclass into a giant vacuum cleaner that will be a permanent underclass that they control and that they skim the welfare money off of and who they use as the decisive voting bloc to break this country's back once and for all. So what does the president do? He doesn't just declare the emergency over law enforcement. They could circumvent that in Congress. As commander-in-chief, his job is to protect the border. If he declares a full emergency as commander-in-chief, a full, real national emergency, not what his lawyers tricked him to do, this baby one, and he orders a couple 100,000 troops down to that border, and he pulls them out of Afghanistan, and he pulls some out of these other areas like Korea, and puts it where we need it on our border, it needs to be done now. And I guarantee you, they get the Army Corps of Engineers to drop what they're doing and to get down there, they can build and block, because you got to keep them out. Because the way the laws are written, once they get here, bingo, you get everything free, and there's no immigration judges anymore. They're now backlogged 6 years. You're done. Everything's free. 900 sanctuary cities. You can have TB and cough on people's kids. Doesn't matter. You're in. You can be a smuggler. You can be a coyote. You can be a murderer. You can be a child molester. This is a system-wide collapse. Texas border city overwhelmed by surge of Central American migrants. That was last week. And Mexico and its socialist president is giving them free passage. He lied to Trump a few months ago and said, oh, yeah, I'll stop them. Wink, wink, because Mexico could stop them. They're not stopping them. They're not stopping them. They're not stopping them. And the Central American gangs are so bad now. Cancun's shutting down. Hotels are a third the price. Gun battles and death every night. Mexico will fall even more, but the new Mexican president doesn't care as long as he can destroy America. That's all he wants. And then we'll all live in misery together with open sewage running down the street and drug gangs ruling everyone. That's America. And now, through the end of March, we are running the biggest special of this year. So far, it matches any other special we've ever done. So this is the best deal we've ever offered. Free shipping store-wide. That's free shipping store-wide. Free shipping store-wide. 50% off all the supplements. A bunch of other great deals as well. Double Patriot points. Instead of 5% on each order towards your next order, you get 10% right there in your profile. Sign up for auto ship, cancel anytime for free, get an additional 10% off on your next order. That's 20% off. You add that to 50% off and store-wide free shipping. Most of these products are loss leaders. So I want to thank you all for supporting the InfoWar. I want to encourage you today to get great products at the 360 Win at InfoWarsStore.com. voting with our feet, voting with our dollars, voting with our mouths, voting with our speech, voting with our action. Free shipping store-wide. That's free shipping store-wide. Free shipping store-wide at InfoWarsStore.com.